Alright, now I'm going to go through all the different types of magazines I own one by one, but first, the reason I'm making this video is to convince you to go out and buy more magazines. Mag bans may or may not happen, but panic buying definitely will. In 2020, we saw 9mm ammunition go from 15 cents to 70 cents a round, and this year we may see PMags go from $15 to $70. And I want all 1,003 of you to be prepared. You guys rock. Check the comment section below. I'll post links to affordable mags I find. And if you guys find any good mag prices, post them below. Let's help each other out, find the mags we need. And hey, I'd even recommend buying magazines for guns you don't own yet but would like to own someday, because there's no telling what the future holds. Now, with that out of the way, I'll break down what I got, starting with the AK-47. I own 47 AK-47 magazines and one Romanian 75 round top loading drum. Most people agree that these top loading drums are superior to the rear loading ones, although they are much more expensive. All my AK mags are Comblock surplus, which is what I believe you should be buying because they are the most hardy. Polymer AK mags work great until they break a locking lug. The new production Croatian mags have fitment issues, so stay away from those. And the new Korean mags use a much thinner sheet metal and just minuscule spot welds. If your AK is a ranged toy and doesn't see much use, I'm sure those are fine, but if your AK is a go-to rifle, do yourself a favor and buy surplus Comblock mags, and they'll outlive you. And so many countries made these mags, you can collect them like little communist Pokemon. Next up is my Uzi mags, and believe it or not, these actually feel more solid than the AK magazines. All of these are Israeli made, but only the 25 rounders have the Star of David. My 32 rounders don't, because I believe these were made by Israel for Germany. And you can also find flush fitting 20 round mags, which I'd like to own for when I conceal carry my Uzi someday. The eye candy you see up top is my Israeli IMI Uzi parts kit, which should be a fairly easy re-weld semi-auto project. And this little gem is the lower to my Rhodesian Commando parts kit, also known as the Ruzi because it's essentially a Rhodesian Uzi. It was not uncommon for Rhodesian women back in the day to carry these subguns around to defend themselves against communist terrorists, and I'm really looking forward to having both of these firearms in my collection once I've finished building them. If you follow my channel, you know I love the FNFAL, and to feed mine, I own 31 20-round mags and one 30-rounder. FAL mags are by far my favorite magazines, and these in particular are interesting. Supposedly they're Rhodesian, but what makes them special is they have the metric pattern locking lugs and the inch pattern base plates. If you know anything about these, please put it in the comments below. I'd love to know more about them. And I do prefer the 20 rounders, as the 30 gets a little awkward, but it does make for a great monopod. When I did Remote Brutality 2021, which I have a video on, I did use the 30 rounder. That way I didn't have to change magazines and I could use it as a monopod, which really helped because I got super tired. And once again, I do recommend only buying surplus magazines. Next up are AR-15 magazines, and these I don't mind buying new. I have 48 total, a lot still in the wrapper because I don't shoot ARs much, honestly. I must have hit my head pretty hard when I fell off the bandwagon, but PMags are great. Gen 2s are cheaper, and you'll probably never wear them out, but I have heard from guys with incredibly high round counts that the Gen 3s will last longer. And those steel mags are surplus Setme-L. I have a video out on them, and they work great for what they are. Now, I'm not going to lie, AR mags are a little boring, so we're going to move on. Bonus points if you know what these are without me having to tell you. On the left, we have the Soviet World War II PPSH-41 in 7.62 Tokarev, and on the right, we have the Finnish World War II Suomi in 9mm. Except for the Soviet cartridge being a little longer, these drums are almost identical, but the stick mags are vastly different. The Suomi stick mags are gorgeous. The fit and finish is nicer than any other magazine I own. They even have loops for lanyards so you don't lose them in the snow, which is awesome. The PPSH-41 stick mags, on the other hand, are nice, but they're nowhere near as sleek, and you could probably cut a steak with those edges. Ah, the Galil. After FAL mags, these are my next favorite magazines. I own 30 total, with 2 of those being the Epic 50 rounders. Standard capacity is 35 rounds, which is cool, but the light machine gun mags are ridiculous and I love them. I stay away from Tapco mags, although I would like to get a few of the South African R4 polymer mags, just for the cool factor. Now, if you want my opinion on how many magazines you should own, I say a minimum of 30 per fighting rifle type. But if it's just a fun range toy like my subguns, then I'm comfortable having less mags for those. Just know that magazines are designed to be disposable. That's why I want at least 30. I'd hate to run out of them when I need them most, just like toilet paper. And I don't wait to run out of toilet paper to then go buy more. I buy that in advance and I buy it in bulk, just like mags and ammo. The AK-74. These are 545 by 39 magazines. I don't own a gun to use these yet, but I'd like to one day, so I'm getting a head start because the prices on these are only going to go up as the surplus is drying up and Palmetto State Armory is making the AK-74 more popular. Now normally I say only buy surplus mags for your AK variant like these Plum magazines are, but there are no AK-74 surplus magazines on the internet for under 50 bucks, which makes it incredibly hard to stockpile. Luckily, these look promising. At less than half the cost, they are new production Bulgarian mags with steel reinforced feed lips and steel reinforced front and rear locking lugs, as these beautiful magnets show. Atlantic Firearms is the only place I could find that sell these in particular. Gun Mag Warehouse has magazines that look different but have the same steel reinforcements, but do be wary. There are other websites with identical looking magazines at the same price but no steel reinforcements. Fun fact about Sten mags. They typically have witness holes in the back, but British troops fighting in North Africa in World War II would solder them closed because sand getting into these really hurt the reliability. Now, these are Israeli mags, and Israel being a sandy environment, they didn't just close off the holes, they also put in 4 brass rods inside. This converts them from double stack to single stack mags. It brings the capacity down to 20 rounds, but it makes them much more reliable because there's less friction, especially when they get dirty. Pistol mags. My Glock 19 is my home defense gun, loaded as it should be with OEM mags and only OEM mags. I wouldn't trust another brand. I'm definitely looking to get more, but I am missing 2 right now, as well as another 2 SIG P226 mags. I know I put them in a specific place so I wouldn't lose them. I just need to remember where that place is. I don't own a P226 yet, but it's the pistol I want the most, and these Metgars are difficult to find in stock for under 30 bucks, so I've been snagging them as I get the chance. These go by many names, but they're for belt-fed machine guns. The MG42 baskets are overly engineered like everything World War II German, and they're packed with features. Next is their replacement polymer drums by H&K that aren't near as complex, yet have even more features. Germany switched to these when they switched their machine guns from 8mm Mauser to 7.62 NATO, and they still use them today, along with the larger NATO boxes, which also work in some Mag 58s. These are incredibly hard to find in the US, so I imported a bunch of them from Hungary. Here's the Yugoslavian MG42 I'm currently rewelding back together, and it'll take all 3 of those belt holders. I also have enough belts for at least 600 rounds of 8mm Mauser or 7.62 NATO, as the belts work for both. And lastly, I have these 2 pristine Hungarian PKM assault cans. I bought these a year ago hoping that one day I'd be able to buy a PKM parts kit, and I'm excited to say I just purchased one. I'll probably give it a Rhodesian paint job and then use it as my SHTF home defense gun. Fun fact about these assault cans is you can actually buy the airsoft version of this, which is less than half the price. Take out the airsoft innards and then use it on your PKM to store your belts. That's what a lot of the PKM guys are doing now that these are becoming more expensive. That's my collection. It's probably not the wisest thing to tell the world what I have, but I believe it's worth it if I can convince some of you to go out and buy more mags. As many as you can now. Don't wait for panic buying to realize you need more. And when the time comes, fight like hell for your right to party with magazines of all sizes. There are links in the description to the 5 gun right groups I'm a member of, but I will say I feel that Gun Owners of America and Firearms Policy Coalition are the 2 best. The thoughts over on OnlyFans don't need your money as much as the dedicated people fighting to preserve our rights. And never let anyone tell you that you shouldn't be allowed to own these or shame you for wanting to own something to defend yourself, your family, and your castle. That concludes my public service announcement. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I've got a lot more videos coming with all kinds of non-standard weapon systems and short shorts galore. The Rhodesian YouTube chads have been telling me for months that my Bush War shorts are too long, so I've upped my LARPing game with some shorter shorts. It's a crazy world, people. Embrace it. Like, subscribe, and stop communism at every turn. Thanks.